Welcome everybody. Welcome to a video that I have been supposed to make for quite some time now. Well, not this specific video, but it's me talking about something that it's frankly criminal that it's taken me this long to get to. Today, we're talking about Doctor Who. Okay, so originally today was going to be talking about that new The Santa Clauses show, but I don't want to watch it at the moment. I really don't. And it was also going to be a little bit too on the nose about current affairs, and I just no, I can't be arsed. I'm not doing this. So. Instead, we're talking about Doctor Who. More specifically, we're talking about the 8th Doctor, as you'll have gotten. Thank you to the wonderful uploader of that intro, who will be credited in the description below for that wonderful, wonderful video. Right, so, down to business. I'm going to be trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible because, to be honest, it's a 2-hour-long audio drama. It's not going to be a good idea to try and recap all of the plot beats, given I have 7 pages of notes on this. Chimes of Midnight, otherwise known as the second Doctor Who Christmas special. Yeah, that sounds about right. This was after the Feast of Stephen, obviously, because the Feast of Stephen was in the 60s. But it was before the Christmas invasion. Therefore, in my book, it's the second. Speaking of which, eventually we've got to get to the Ravenous thing. But that's another story for another day. What I love about the Chimes of Midnight is it's an incredible murder mystery. It's a bit of a ghost story, really. Like, it's a very haunting atmosphere. It follows the 8th Doctor's main motif as being kind of Edwardian in the first decade of the 1900s. You know, the house is supposed to be in 1906, but there's frequently something wrong with the house. Bits of dialogue will make you think that various people might be the killer, but it's constantly a misdirect, and eventually the Doctor, my Doctor, Paul McGann, kind of works out for everything to misdirect towards him, trying to keep him trapped. So yeah, Paul McGann is incredible in this story. I mean, he's incredible in every story. He's Paul McGann. He is the best Doctor, by far. And the fact that he hasn't had a TV series yet, it's a crime. Russell, I'm willing to come over and give you a hand. Like, I'm close enough now to the production offices. Like, I'm willing to come and do it, if that's what you want. I could probably come up with something if I was given a bit of a budget and was paid to do so, because help me. Anyway, enough begging for Russell T Davies to notice me. He's never going to notice me. But yeah, this takes place in the middle of Charlie's arc as well, because without giving too much away and without stepping outside my territory, because I haven't listened to most of the audios yet. I haven't actually listened to most of the original series of 8th Doctor audios, because I have to put aside time for them. Like, I have to keep things going smoothly. Bit of Bailey's hot chocolate for me. But yeah, because of that, I haven't actually gotten round to it yet. But I listened to Storm Warning, and Storm Warning is so good, like, so good. But the gist of Charlie's arc, in short, is that she was supposed to die in Storm Warning on board that airship that her and the Doctor were on. But the Doctor saved her, and he grapples with a lot of guilt over his changing of the timeline throughout his time with Charlie. And from what I understand, Charlie gets done with his shit at so much time. Like, no, Charlie is done with his shit so often. Like, she loves him, like, obviously, who wouldn't? But she's not, she can't trust a man that doesn't seem to be telling her the truth, like, ever. Which is fair. So, wonderfully, the 8th Doctor and Charlie Pollard. Sorry, brain for some reason shut down there. So they're running around this Edwardian house, and there's little motifs that, like, I could sense comparisons to her own life, to Charlie's own life within the house. Like, she'd reference her time in 1930, which is her time, as, like, being quite similar to this house. Like, little things such as one of the main motifs, the plum pudding, because Christmas isn't Christmas without my plum pudding. Yeah. She was a creep, Mrs. Badley was. Like, oh my god, she was a creep. Not only was Mrs. Badley a creep, Mr. Shaughnessy was a creep. Edith was initially great and began to become creepier as time went on. And let me think. Mary and Frederick, their love affair was certainly interesting. Like, it was certainly very, very interesting. I'm not gonna lie, Mary was a bit of a yandere. Like, it was... If any of you have ever seen Not Going Out, it's like that episode, Rachel. She even sounded a bit like Rachel. It was very odd the way she behaved about Frederick, because she's all like, oh yeah, I won't let anyone stop us from being together, not even you. So, wonderfully, I love that it's set on Christmas. I do. Yeah, I love the early 8th Doctor. I do. I've always loved the movie, ever since I saw it as a kid. I've always loved everything about that movie. Even if I've soured on a couple of elements more recently, such as the Daleks cameoing at the start, making no sense. But to see that version of the 8th Doctor that's so full of love and life and joy, prior to the Time War twisting him into this bitter old man, I love that, because the Doctor's in denial throughout most of his life about having to, you know, when the Time War finally starts, he he tries to avoid it. He tries not to be involved too much, and it's a shame, really, like, because he has to realise that he can't win, like. But to see him before all of that, before the Time Lord even really started, it's so lovely to see the 8th Doctor working hard to save lives. It gets a little bit confusing to follow at times because there's a time loop going on throughout the entire thing, and therefore a lot of dialogue gets repeated, and initially I thought Spotify was just bugging me around. But I think that was by design. But yeah, I noticed that Charlie is a bit harsher than most companions would be as servants. And because, well, she lived in 1930. Her dad had a servant. And I won't say too much about that because it's one of the underlying threads of the story. And I do think everyone should listen to this one. It's on Spotify. It's free. Well, as free as Spotify is. And I think everyone should enjoy it. Like, if I were to ever give people a start for what to listen to for the 8th Doctor, I'd say this. And yeah, don't know what else I can really tell you. Let me pile through my notes. I really did have to do 7 pages of notes just to remember. Mrs. Badley is incredibly Christian, it seems, which was a bit. To be fair, you'd expect that. She's an Edwardian kitchen maid. She's gonna be Christian. Most of them are. Everyone seems quite obsessed with the first F, that it's a suicide, no matter what, and there are reasons for that. And again, I don't want to say too much. I really don't. I was quite happy to hear that a fob watch was involved. By the way, I own a fob watch now. Like, I genuinely do. My awkwardness is noted. Yeah. So, Paul McGann, legendary as always. Like, I've always been quite vocal about the fact that he's my favourite Doctor. I actually did mention him in my Power of the Doctor, like, predictions. There was constant talk of someone that they called the Master, and I was, because obviously I didn't know what to expect from this story, a small part of me was semi-expecting to see him, but it wouldn't really have made sense here. 8th Doctor media in the 2000s tried very hard to move away from the Master because it didn't really work in the movie with a lot of people. People didn't understand Eric Roberts' performance wasn't supposed to be serious. You gotta remember, the Masters used to be British, and he'd gotten another man's tongue, an American man's tongue. The entire time he was fucking with the Doctor in that movie. Like, I always dress for the occasion was the prime example of that. People disliking camp is stupid. Anything else that isn't just plot details? So yeah, closing notes, because I kind of wrote a closing monologue in my notes on my phone. So, yeah. This story makes a wonderful murder mystery and is considered a classic in the library of the Eighth Doctor for good reason. Christmas truly wouldn't be Christmas without Mrs. Badley's plum pudding, and ultimately it wouldn't kill the BBC to air this properly as a real Christmas special one year, either recreated in live action or animated. I actually was under the belief that I should have done that this year. Yeah. And now that we've taken care of this one, we can begin to talk about more audios and more books. I'm planning throughout 2023, don't hold me to this because I'm not really very good at holding promises. I'm planning to talk far more about the Eighth Doctor's life throughout 2023. I won't get through all of it because there's a lot of it, but I believe that this is the year to start doing stuff. So naturally, all should listen to this on Spotify this December. If you're new to the Big Finish, this might just be the hair-raising Christmas ghost story that will get you started. Paul McGann is the Doctor, and the Doctor is Paul McGann. Thank you for watching.